Chipper today after our long meeting last night. We will commence our Rules and Open Government Committee and Committee of the Whole for June 17th. And I'll note for the record that I'm joined by Council members Arenas, Davis, and Camus. And so I believe we have a quorum. I also see Councilmember Esparza present. And we'll start with a review of the agenda for June 23rd. I'll ask my colleagues if they have any changes beginning on pages 5 and 6. I assume we are continuing with our pattern of 11 a.m. meetings.
Yes, please.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Any changes on pages 7 or 8? Changes on pages 9 and 10. All right, pages 11 and 12. Pages 13 and 14. Pages 15 and 16. And I assume, Dave, we're confident we don't need to pull 2.25 off for discussion with all those agreements?
That's correct. We're feeling okay right now.
Okay. Pages 17 and 18. Pages 19 and 20. Pages 21 and 22. Pages 23 and 24. Pages, just looking at 5.1, what is an interesting time to be going out for a marketing strategy contract, isn't it, for the airport?
Yeah, I think, although kind of probably, important just given the kind of how the world has changed, right?
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to kind of shift our thinking on how we do market.
Yeah, okay. Pages 25 and 26. Pages 27 and 28. And in addition, there are some ads relating to food distribution and digital inclusion expenditure plans. That's on the ad sheet. I don't see, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, from the public, Blair, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm hoping I can speak to item 2.2 today on the first agenda in relation to mixed fuel use ordinance of things. I'd like to compliment again yourselves in the attempts to use less natural gas. Please consider the positive, sustainable local community energy options that are available with local energy. We have talked and planned for years and decades now how to make important humanistic changes with city government community practices. To also note, there can be examples of many positive sustainability ideas that were growing parallel with the evolution of the COVID-19 virus and its following pandemic in 2020. With the many disaster capitalism practices of the past 20 years, I hope we are learning now how social change can take place simply with a commitment to continual good dialogue and negotiation, and that we can end the drastic use of state-sponsored violence, harm, and mass death for long-term social engineering and social planning needs, simply with the ideas of good guidelines and good practices. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda, welcome. Brenda, your device is muted right now.
Whoops. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you
Welcome.
hear me now?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
I would like to speak, I believe it's item 6 on, I want to post this. It's currently to extend current city commission terms by 6 months. This,
Oh, no, that's coming up.
okay, I'll wait.
Stay
I read
tuned, Brenda. That will be item G, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, that's item G6. Yeah. So we'll come back to you. Okay, on this item, back to the panel, there is a motion, I believe, yes?
Did somebody make a motion?
Motion to,
There is now.
Second.
All right, motion from Councilor Cam, second from Councilor Arenas, Vice Mayor is with us. All in favor?
With the ad sheet, I assume?
yes, the sunshine waiver from the ad sheet.
Oh, good point.
Yes.
Okay, and that's okay with the seconder, Councilor Arenas? Okay,
Yes.
all in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, on the Tuesday, June 30th calendar, last of the fiscal year, we'll begin with a review on pages 5 and 6. Pages 7 and 8. Pages 8 and 9. I'm sorry, 9 and 10, I should say. I said 7 and 8 before, so 9 and 10. Pages 11 and 12. Pages 13 and 14. Pages 15 and 16. All right, let's go to the public. Blair?
Yeah, hi. For this item, or for this council agenda, I think I'm interested in item 3.4, which is about smart wave technology. It's part of a whole, it's a company, I guess, and it's a part of a whole series of items that can be used, implemented tools for your help, that I think include ideas as far-reaching as broad as rat traps, and it can do, you know, smart technology with rat traps. And I have a feeling this can be connected to new IoT ideas that you have, and with what I'm assuming is the geofencing that is being built in the downtown area. And I thought this would just be a time to just mention the power of geofencing and its future. And it's a very formidable piece of technology, and for yourselves to develop open public policy guideline practices we can all look at and understand, and it could just be easily accessible. I think that's really important for our future, and that you always leave that part out in how you talk about the future of innovation with technology. And I wish you could learn to include it. And it's a simple thing to do, and it just makes the whole process that much easier for everyone. And yeah, that, and along with smart streetlights, the streetlight monitors that guide how fast streetlights change. Those are two important pieces of technology of our future in San Jose. And to have good policies with that is important. The ideas of data collection with the census at this time, I think, can give really important examples of what are good civil rights and civil protection practices with data collection. And good luck with this issue in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Returning to council. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. We're on to item E, which is the public record.
Motion to note and file.
Second.
Blair?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. For a familiar subject that I wish could be talked about a little more recently with all the police talk right now. There's a level of dialogue around the state and federal government at this time that can address rent forgiveness issues for both owners and tenants in open and positive terms. I feel the current level of dialogue can keep people from all sides out of harm and danger. Please learn to avoid rash or impatient decision-making and how we are trying to reach final decisions on how CARES Act and HEROES Act can offer really smart, intelligent ways we can all be involved in a process of rent forgiveness. To help avoid confusion, it is up to ourselves to have an open, good dialogue of what is possible at this time. Interestingly, this can raise ourselves as a whole community effort towards our better human nature. And these are the ideas that I think, we're trying to understand what can be, our ideas of equity and just good logic and a community whole that we're all trying to understand and work towards. And, I just hope we can be open with ourselves about these subjects and not be closed-minded and, just real combative and hostile. I hope we don't do any of that. We're trying to give the best parts of ourselves right now in a really tough situation, and I just hope we can do that for each other. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed to that motion on E? All right, that's unanimous. On G2, why don't we consider items G2 through G4 together? These are all District 6 outreach funds for specific schools that may be associated with a particular council member. Is there a motion?
Mayor, can I just?
Motion to approve.
Sure,
Thank
Councilmember Davis.
So they're for two different schools, and my kids attended those two schools in the last school year. One of the schools my child will not even be at next year, but I did want to, we have to put these through this way, and I give to a lot of the schools in my district, especially because many of them did not get to have their fundraisers this spring. So
Yes.
that's why they're all coming at the same time.
Thank you for that.
Motion to approve.
Arenas,
Second for.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Ramos, you made a motion earlier, didn't you?
Yes, I made the motion, I think.
Okay, great.
And I think I seconded.
Yes, okay, Vice.
Apologize.
All right. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the motion? All right, that moves forward. Item 5 is the equity pledge. And I know Councilmember Arenas, of course, is with us, as is, I think, Councilmember Esparza. Would either of you like to speak on this before we go to the public?
Sure, we can begin with Councilmember Esparza or myself. makes no difference.
Councilman Reyes, why don't you start in?
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Mayor. We wanted to move this forward as, well, first of all, just something I need to, and I've never done before, which is just say that there was a potential of a Brown Act violation. There wasn't any Brown Act violations because I sent this email to everyone asking for your pledge to commit to equity. Of course, I didn't have any discussions with anybody, and we stopped it pretty soon. Thank you, Rick, for helping us do that, so that we could then make sure we didn't have any violations. And so I just wanted to first acknowledge that. And the reason that this is on rules schedule is because we wanted to make sure that we incorporated the whole council, and the only way that we could do that is by putting it in front of council. And I think with what we are facing at this moment, I think it is appropriate. I've been wanting to have a lot of conversations with everybody here who I'm not in the Brown Act with on equity, and as well as members of our council, larger council. And so I think it just gives us an opportunity to make a pledge, and for this to be symbolic. Of course, we have the pledge that has come together. And we released it, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and it was in an effort to have all of our elected officials across the county in solidarity. Really, this is just a stance in solidarity, in equity, that it acknowledges what we've been hearing from our community, and that we also want to be part of that solution, and we will hold equity as the cornerstone to what we're going to do in the next phase of this government, as we see changing before our eyes. And so I think it just provides us an opportunity to be able to do that. There's another item. There's two items on the memo, and one of the items can go into the work plan. I think that Dave, you said yesterday, could come before us, I think, by October. And so we can place that item there. I just think that we shouldn't wait too long before we pull in our community to talk about equity. I think there's some, as you've seen in many of our council meetings, that people really just want to express so many different either experiences that they've had on the streets, or experiences living in our city, or just be part of the solution. And so I think that we have to convene an opportunity for everybody to be on the same page. And I've expressed this in the past, that we haven't gotten to a point among our council members to even say that we all have the same shared understanding of equity. We've never really defined it for ourselves, and we haven't included our community to help define it for us or with us. And so I think this just begins that kind of process of healing, of conversation, and really of taking a stance on equity. And so I hope that you all can support this memo, so we can move it forward and we can have this discussion with the rest of the council.
Thank you. Councilmember Esparza?
Thank you, Mayor. So this came out of a result of our equity study sessions and the work that we've been talking about for several months. And other folks in other cities in Santa Clara County had indicated that they were really inspired by the work that San Jose has been doing in terms of having the public equity study sessions, talking about equity. And a lot of leaders in the community were really hopeful, actually, after the protests, and wanted to raise this issue up. And so this pledge was actually developed after studying what some of the other offices of racial equity at cities throughout the country have been doing. So it incorporates a lot of the best practices, and really came out of the goals and the desire to bring these conversations to the broader community. And I believe some other cities, some other mayors and other cities are also are signing this pledge and talking about this pledge and about incorporating it into their work as well. And so, you know, I'm really hopeful after the discussion we had last night and hearing everyone's commitment about moving forward. And I think that moving ahead, it'll be really helpful to have this discussion as a council to talk about the pledge and in public and really show the community that one, we've heard them, two, we take this work seriously as we move forward. And this gives another opportunity for the community as well as all of us to speak up and talk about the pledge. So I ask that it get moved to the full council for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to both of you for bringing it forward. Happy to support moving forward. Had a question though. Councilor Esparza, you mentioned that other mayors are moving forward. Is it, you say this pledge, is it uniform? Is there like a national, is this part of a national? I'm just trying to understand where this was created and is
So
this,
it was this specific pledge,
Yeah.
yes. And it was, this pledge was created out of some best practices from some other cities. Some work that I believe out of Seattle, Portland, and one other city.
do you know if there's a particular organization that drafted this in particular?
This did not come from an organization. No, it came from a lot of their work though.
Okay, so was this drafted by the 5 colleagues who were on the memo? or
Correct.
the pledge itself? Okay, I was just trying to understand where the language. Okay, we'll go to the public first. Claire?
Hi, thank you. You know, you guys have been nicely talking about equity over the past year, and I always try to suggest, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I've always tried to suggest the community meeting place as a place to really, you know, just work it out between all of us. And I think that's the way to really create a good relationship for everyone, what we're trying to build at this time. And with the events that are going on right now, it could just help so much in so many ways. And it was so many issues. So thank you. I have a little speech here. To speak directly to equity issues and the future of what can be a good long-term sustainable practices for community, and in some of the same words from my open forum of last night, and with ideas that are not yet fully accepted, but that I feel very much address the issues of equity, good practices, and sustainability. I once again offer how minimal use practices with technology can offer about as much as the overdeployment of broadband in local neighborhoods at this time. Can enabling, I asked my question last night of subsidizing Wi-Fi programs. I hope this can be of help. Please remember, it is better public policies at the local level across the country at this time as an important factor how to help open up many important concepts, positive democratic practices, and long-term community sustainability. And is specifically meant to address the ideas of both the initial idealism of equity and the more established ideas of what can be equality. I hope it is becoming clear the ideas of equity can offer a positive focus for the community and a good roadmap in how decisions can be made for a now COVID-19 city budget in the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember, oh, I'm sorry, I think we have one more member of the public. Greg.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, I received a copy of the Equity Pledge, and I was really excited to read it. I thought it was very timely. And I think I would guess many people that make their residence in San Jose want everybody to have an ear of what's going on, to feel that they're being listened to. And I like the investment of it. I don't feel that it's an absurd amount by any leap. And I feel it's very appropriate during this time. And I think it's a fantastic message. And I think people would respond. And I think anything that encourage conversation, like the Equity Pledge would, is a great benefit to raising the tide so that everybody can can become better off in our city. And I think it's a great encouragement. I applaud those who are proposing it.
Great, thank you. Okay, coming back to the committee, Councilor Camus?
Yeah, so I want to thank Councilmember Esparza and Arenas for putting this forward, and I'm very supportive of it. But I could tell you that, you know, I know we think that equity is going to solve a lot of our divides, whether it's a socioeconomic divide, digital divide, what have you, and I think it's going to go a long way in doing so. But I can tell you that equity isn't the only answer. I think we also have to bring in personal responsibility, because I think if we tell people that, you know, we keep talking about equity, um, it doesn't help us with personal responsibility. And I could tell you, when I came to this country, my parents and I were escaping from a war. We didn't speak the language here. We didn't have very much, and we didn't have very much money. Um, and quite frankly, we did suffer with discrimination. When you don't speak the language, and when there's a war and the 200 American soldiers get killed in the country you came from, and everybody blames you for it, it wasn't great when you're growing up. But what I mean by personal responsibility is I want to have this country is one of the greatest countries for opportunity in the world, and I feel like we have to focus on positives, and I feel like we keep focusing on negatives. I know we have to solve the inequities, and I'm very supportive of it. But I think if we don't start discussing personal responsibility, we're going to miss the point, because we have to teach our children that they can achieve. You know, all those movies about people that are made, they're not made about rich people getting richer. They're made about poor people getting rich, or, you know, or achieving some kind of goals. I could tell you that they can make a movie about my life, and I feel like I've gone from a place where I feel you know, my family and I were not in the socioeconomic place that we are today, but I feel that we are there today because of personal responsibility more than anything else. I know that my skin looks whiter than most people, and I may have some white privilege, but when you don't speak the language, that doesn't help either. And so I think we have to start weaving in personal responsibility into this dialogue, and we cannot just rely on things that the city does to help, because the city also isn't the solution for everything, and for achieving closing these social inequities that have been built up for years. It's important that we drill into our youth and our community that you can achieve, and to try and to flip this conversation so that we can actually make impact and give people hope, rather than let them feel that they're suffering under oppression. I could tell you that my family, even though we felt discriminated against, we didn't let that slow us down, and I don't think anybody should. Again, I'm willing to discuss this, but I think we have to broaden the discussion, and it cannot just be equity. And so I just wanted to bring that into the mix, and I hope that I know that our colleagues are really passionate about closing some of the digital divide, the education divide that do exist. And I think we all want to work on these issues to make us a better city, but we have to start talking about personal responsibility. And I'd love to see more being done about teaching personal responsibility to our community as well, in our youth.
Other comments?
I would just like to make a motion to approve the memo and move it forward to council.
Second.
The motion and second. I do have one more member of the committee wanted to speak. Brenda, welcome.
Hi, this is in regards to Camille's comment. Personal responsibility is writing resolutions like the ones. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. Personal responsibility is resolutions like these. You cannot close one eye and tell our kids that it's beautiful without really telling them the reality of what they're living. And you cannot lie to them about the systemic racism that they are living. We have to tell them that they are being oppressed because that is the truth. And that is the only way our kids will ever be successful is if we tell them the truth. You can't paint butterflies and give them beautiful images of what's not there for them. You can say that because, as you said, you have some white privilege with your skin color, but our kids don't. And I'm not going to lie to my kids on a reality that is not built for them. So that was a very insensitive comment, quite disgusting. Me as a mother, as a brown mother, to hear someone in my city council talk like that. And you cannot say it's personal responsibility. This is the world that we're living in. For years, we have been oppressed. You cannot lie on what's there. And I'm really hurt right now. And I'm here minding my business. But when I hear comments like this, I have to say something because you're speaking on your white privilege. And I'm speaking for the majority of the people here in San Jose, what they have to experience. We don't have those opportunities that you possibly. I can't send my kid to a private school like you probably could. So I am glad that they brought a resolution, and I want to thank Councilmember Arenas for this and all the councils that were a part of this, because we need to put light on the reality of what we are living. Thank you. I render my time.
Thank you. All right, back to the council. Councilmember Arenas. Councilmember Arenas, I think you're still muted. If you could unmute your device.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the speakers for calling in and for adding to the perspective. When all voices are heard and acknowledged, I think that creates a more richer discussion for all of us. And so this is exactly why we need this equity pledge in front of us, so that we can sort this out and be able to have a very transparent and honest conversation. And so I hope that all of my colleagues can support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kimmis?
Mayor, this is exhausting. I'm constantly having my comments taken out of context. I am supporting the pledge. I didn't say I wouldn't. I just said that we have to have this dialogue expanded. And, I don't know what to say to the caller, except that I don't disagree with you. I just think that we need to broaden the discussion. And I think that not allowing people to have a different opinion to speak up, tearing them down constantly. I've actually been ridiculed on Twitter for a small little tiny blunder that I made in what I've said. If everybody is truly wanting this dialogue and has an open mind, then let people speak their mind. Don't make them afraid. I have people in my district that refuse to come and do comments because they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to stand out. Because they have a different opinions. I have a different opinion. Don't I have a right to that opinion? It's important for us to have a dialogue, unless all of us want to, have the same. If we're all going down the same path and there's no difference of opinion, then what good is a council if we don't have different points of view? And I don't think my point of view differs with the council that much. I just think I have a different perspective, a perspective of an immigrant who had to come here and suffered through poverty, suffered through learning English, suffered through abuse. I would venture to say that I've suffered more discrimination in my youth than anybody on the city council. I've been beaten up because because of the war in Lebanon and Iran and the hostage crisis. Kids used to beat me up all the time. But I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic person, and I don't want to let the things that I suffered through control my life. And I feel that I have a right to say these things because I want people to be optimistic in this city because we live in a good city. And I think that this is a very well-run city. And I really love the passion that our council has for solving the community's problems. I've never been part of a body that wants to achieve so much, and I'm going to stay strong and speak my points of view despite all the negative comments that I've been getting. And I hope my colleagues can support my opinion every once in a while, because I feel that I do add to this conversation things that everybody should be considering. There's nothing wrong with educating people about personal responsibility, and I'm going to keep talking about it.
Councilor Camus, thank you. And I would just offer this. Look, these are difficult conversations. Conversations about equity and race. These are hard. And I do think it's important for all of us as we move forward, and we're going to move forward with this, of course, because I agree it's important. But we should have a safe space for people to be able to offer their own perspectives, and those perspectives may not align with our own. But we need to have it because we have to have this public dialogue, or else I think these issues will continue to simmer, and I think that everybody will continue to remain in their corners. And I think as a city, we want much more than that. We want real dialogue, and we want honest dialogue. So appreciate your perspective. Appreciate also the perspective of the caller, the member of the community who also spoke up. I think we have to recognize as Councilmember, I believe Councilmember Reyes, it might have been, I'm not sure which of my colleagues said it a bit earlier, but we haven't really come to a common agreement about what exactly equity is. This is a really important dialogue to have, and hopefully we can have it with a safe space. Obviously, it doesn't mean people aren't going to disagree. Of course, we'll disagree, and let's do it. Let's do it clearly, and let's do it in a way that is civil and constructive, so we can all get to a better place as a city. This is a very trying time, I know, for an awful lot of folks who are suffering mightily. People who did not grow up with white privilege as I did, I know, are suffering enormously and having a lot of very painful memories resurrected. And we have to collectively as a community have these very difficult conversations. So hopefully in that spirit, we can all move forward, and I'm happy to support the memorandum. Any other comments? All right, on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, then we'll go on to item 6, which is a memorandum that I authored, and Tony probably just in the last few minutes received another a replacement memorandum. This is on the board and commissioner terms. Tony, are you with us? I'm looking for your name here. She's not in the public. Oh, she is.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
listed as council chambers.
Oh, you're the council chambers person. I got it. Okay, cool. I just thought that was a building. It's a
Yeah, I
person.
normally I forgot to change my name this meeting.
Good. So I think you would have received a replacement memo quite
Yes.
recently, as in a few minutes ago. After we put this memo out, there was a member of the council who had concerns with what we were doing. And honestly, I don't feel all that strongly one way or another. I just want to be fair to the commissioners who haven't even had, I think several of them, any meetings for many months. And several of those commissioners came to us, said, hey, can we have some extension on our term? We haven't even had these meetings. We have these issues we wanted to resolve before they kick us off. So it seemed like a good thing to extend. I understand there's some concern with that approach. So the supplement or the replacement memo, I'll just read the direction, which basically says, let's go to council and figure it out. That is, oh boy, I'm sorry. Tony, you have it in front of you?
Yeah, it just says to refer to the city council meeting on June 23rd, a discussion of attending volunteer board and commissioner terms for members who will term out on June 30th, 2020.
Okay. So hopefully some folks on the council will come up with a more brilliant suggestion than mine, which my suggestion was simply to allow everyone 6 more months before we kick them off.
I'm speaking as the clerk, we do the recruitments. We have several applicants, like Arts Commission, I have 26 applicants. We don't have the conflict of interest memos back yet. So I would like to extend them at least until August 30th, so we can get the conflict of interest memos done, get those over to council, and then get the nominations back from council, because we will not be able to have them done by June 30th. We tried, but COVID has increased the workloads for people throughout the departments. So we just, it got slowed. The process was a little slower than usual.
Right.
So I would advocate extending it at least until August 30th. Not because we don't want to do appointments or anything, just to allow us to get those conflict of interest memos back.
Sure. Thank you, Tony. And yeah, we recognize a lot of folks have been pulled off their work because of this COVID crisis. And so certainly it would make sense for us to at least have that much of a deferral. So that would be, you said August 30th, is that what, or 31st? Is that right,
I
Tony?
think August 31st would give us enough time because we've already sent the packets over for the conflict of interest checks. Those usually take 2 to 3 weeks to get back to us. They're taking slightly longer. We are bringing back a bunch of appointments that we've already received, like Youth Commission. We've got almost all of those ready to go. So those are coming on the 30th. But once we get those conflict of interest memos back, then we usually give the council 2 to 3 weeks to get their names back to us. So we could do that throughout July, and we could probably have them on for the August 4th meeting. If not August 4th, then the second meeting in August.
Right.
And those appointments could be effective as of September 1st.
Okay. And Rick, I assume we got to go to council with whatever we do, right? We don't decide this as a rules committee.
Yeah, this is a council decision, whether they ultimately want to extend the terms for however long. So, I think it's appropriate to say, let the council take it to council and talk about it.
Right. Okay. We have several members of the community like to speak. The person with the phone number 8811, welcome.
Yes, hello, Mayor. This is Karen Martinez, trustee from the Evergreen San Jose School Board, Area 2, and I'm calling with regards to this item on item 6. And it's just because being in and living in District 5, we have a lot of issues when it comes to art in our community, and this is a way that we express ourselves. And it's critically important that we have an opportunity to be allowed to do that. And I understand the circumstances, but District 5, I feel personally, being a resident who's lived here for 40 plus years, I'll just say that our community does get overlooked. And I would really like for you to please consider to vote no on extending the terms. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen. Ramona, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi,
Yeah,
Ramona.
hi. Hello, Mayor and Council members. I wanted to address this item. The reference memo extends current commissioner terms by 6 months from June 30th to December 31st. I actually would like to recommend a change to extend the terms for a full year. As you know, the commissions have not been able to meet since the shelter in place took effect in March. We still have no idea when commissions will be able to meet again, as we've been repeatedly told that we cannot meet via Zoom. As an arts commissioner, we're facing a major deficit in our arts budget due to the decimation of the TOT, which will be almost non-existent for the foreseeable future. We need experienced commissioners more than ever to continue the work that is going to be needed through this coming year. Allowing the extension of the commissioners to serve until June 2021 will keep the commission onboarding consistent with the city clerk's current practices of commissioners terming out in June and new commissioners beginning in August. There might be some commissioners who do not wish to extend their terms, but for those that do, I ask that you please extend us to June 2021. Thank you for your consideration, and I yield the rest of my time.
Thanks, Ramona. Blair?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. With this item, thank you that it's actually on the agenda this week, on the Rules and Open Government agenda. It's a nice reminder to me that you're making the effort in what can be, the good public process. And I thank you for that. I've been mentioning all these weeks the importance of the community meeting process. And I think it's a really good way to describe the term equity, how equity can be a real relationship between government and its community. And that's my own personal feeling, what's needed to be at stake. I feel there's ideas of equity that that can create better opportunity for people who don't have the opportunities. And to answer Councilperson Camus a bit, and it helps with that. It makes things available and more possible. And it's also, equity, I feel, has the point to just speak to quality of life issues. And I think those are both concepts that can speak to what Johnny Camus mentioned about personal individual responsibility. And it's a difficult issue, what is being talked about, and I'm totally open to how each side can use the council meeting as a safe space to air our ideas. And thank you that you have allowed myself to be able to do that all these years. And I just hope it can be available to everyone and to hear everyone's side and to hear what Councilperson Camus is saying has, years of what he's asking for and how he can find a better language to do that. I think we can all understand. And so good luck in how we can all work together on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Francis, welcome.
Hi, I'm Frances A. Bear, Chief of Staff to Councilmember Carrasco. She wanted to express her opposition to extending these commission terms. Currently, she's the liaison to the Arts Commission, which has a few seats that are up in the coming months. And we have done recruitment since January for the Arts Commission. We have a robust set of applicants that are willing and able to serve. When we look at the issues of equity, we have a lot of people from our district that want to be there and that want a seat at the table. And as we look at art as a form of healing, this would be a great opportunity for many of the residents throughout San Jose to have their first opportunity to serve on a commission. So 6 months is much too long. We understand that there may be issues with a delay with the clerk's office and getting some of the conflict of interest forms back, but this is a great opportunity as we have people who are very engaged to start sitting on these commissions and be taking a much more public stance on the policies that we are passing. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda, welcome.
Hi, I just want to call and say that I oppose this memo to extend the commissions for 6 months. This means that 6 seats in the art commission would not be up until later. This is an issue of equity. Art is healing. In particular, in this time, our community should have access to these commission seats because they're policies that matter. This limits the public from participating. People have been respectfully waiting for these seats to open, and I think we need to allow them to apply and allow new leadership. This is just my personal opinion on this, and I respectfully ask you guys to consider maybe another option, but I think 6 months for those people that have been waiting for the seats to open, it's not fair. And that's all. I render my time. Thank you.
Roma, welcome. Roma, I think your device is still muted. Roma,
can you hear me now?
We got you, Roma.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I commend all of you and city staff for what you've gone through the last few weeks with the budget. And I, for one, admire all of you, and you put together a great budget. In terms of extending the Arts Commission terms, I would point out that those of us that are termed out had our 8-year terms artificially shortened to 6 years when the commission consolidation work was done. I would also point out that we formed last year as part of our budget work in June, we formed an ad hoc committee on equity and access. And I chaired it, and I've been reporting out regularly to Arts Commission. And I believe in this time of great budget crisis, it's really important to extend these commission terms as long as possible, so you have some experienced commissioners in there to deal with the greatest budget crisis we've perhaps ever faced. And I would encourage council member offices, Councilmember Carrasco, and all the offices, if you have issues, please come forward to Arts Commission and speak. We rarely have the public come and attend Arts Commission meetings, and it's very disappointing to me, particularly when I'm talking about equity. We are all discussing equity issues. I want to commend the city manager and the GARE work and many of the preliminary topics we've been talking about, things like better data collection, are very much in sync with what staff is doing. And again, thanks to all of you, a shout out to Jim Shannon for having public art as his virtual background. It's been a source of comfort to me. Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Roma. Okay, back to the panel. So there's a suggestion we have some deferral just to allow staff to get their work done. But we can certainly make whatever recommendation we like to council.
So I'm happy to move the mayor's memo, but amend it to June 30th. Would that be, sounds like that would be best.
They're already expiring on June 30th. So if we could have extension to August 31st, that gives us July to get all of the appointments, the conflict of interest memos back, the nominations back from the council, and get it to the meeting of August 4th or the second meeting in August.
Okay, but so I guess maybe I misunderstood. I thought you needed time to make a recommendation.
Oh, I think I misunderstood. You want to put this on the June 30th agenda?
I was thinking you needed that time to make that recommendation, but if you want it on Tuesday's agenda for the 23rd, I'm happy to make that motion. That was what the mayor's memo said.
I sense the 30th is a lighter agenda, isn't it, David?
Yeah, I was misunderstanding. I thought you were saying extend the terms to June 30th. Sorry.
No.
I was like, wait.
Move to council for June 30th.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll be ready for either day.
Okay.
Mayor, preference?
Yeah, 30th probably makes more sense, doesn't it, Dave, in terms of the volume?
Yes, I think right now the 30th looks a little lighter. We'll see how that plays out, but I think right now it does.
Okay.
All right, I'll stick with my original motion.
Sounds good.
Second.
For the 30th.
And I'll second that. Tony, are there any plans to have meetings via Zoom for those commissions?
Currently, no, but I've had several inquiries from the commission secretaries that their commissions want to meet. Currently, they can only meet if they request an exception, and everyone that's asked, I said you can bring an exception to rules to meet, and none of them have, except for CAC, which I brought forward, and that's for they have to interview the clean energy seats.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you, Tony.
I do know that the neighborhood commission hasn't had official meetings, but they've had sort of informational meetings with their staff member, because I had a phone call with one of my neighborhood commissioners last week. So I do know that at least some commissioners on some commissions are wanting to meet. I don't know if staff has had the bandwidth to make that happen. I think that may have been some of the disconnect. And Dave, maybe you could speak to that if there's a likelihood of being able to resume in August.
I guess, I kind of share with you where we're at. So we are developing work plans for our council committees and intend to bring those back online in August. I believe that the strategy we're going to take is we're going to try to make those August agendas in particular fairly light. So we definitely are still wrestling with a capacity issue, but we also recognize the importance of not only the council committees, but also all the commission work that goes on. So we're trying to bring it back in a measured fashion in terms of marrying it up with our ability to be able to support the work. But yeah, we need to bring these back for sure. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now, focused on the council committees. And then I think we'll be able to look at the commission work kind of as the next phase.
Okay, that's helpful. And if we can have that come back, kind of whatever the outline of the plan is when it comes to council on the 30th, assuming this motion passes, obviously, I think that would be really helpful. Yeah. I do know the commissioners also are very concerned about the budget and how it impacts their areas. I can see Councilmember Arenas nodding. You've heard the same thing. And so the sooner they can meet in after we get back, I think, or when we know more about the budget, I think they want to have that kind of input before we take our second pass at the budget, if that's possible. So that's my only input.
Okay, Councilor Camus?
Yeah, I just, maybe Tony can explain this to me. How many commissioners are on? Is this for all commissions or just the Arts Commission or every commission?
It's just a handful of commissions: Arts Commission, Downtown Parking Board, Historic Landmark Commission, the Library Early Childcare Seats, and Neighborhoods Commission. The Arts Commission is the one that has the most significant number of vacancies. I do have 26 applicants for it. We sent the conflict of interest, I think, on March 22nd, so we haven't received that back yet. That's why I wanted to extend Arts Commission. Neighborhoods Commission, though, is a separate thing because they are appointed by caucus, and the caucuses could not be held this past spring. So we were planning on bringing that forward as an extension outside of the mayor's memo, but his memo came forward, so we didn't bring it forward separately. So Neighborhoods Commission, because it's not appointed by you, appointed by caucus, will need to be extended for that reason. But it's not affecting a lot. We are still bringing forward all of our unanticipated vacancies that we're able to. Youth Commission, we have almost all of those nominations. Those will be coming forward on the 30th. And any other one we've been able to get names for. But it would help to extend it for those few commissions that are terming out this June.
Yeah, no, I'm concerned too. I mean, I also think that most of these commissions, other than the Neighborhoods Commission, they're appointed by district, are they not? So that we have the right to choose our own.
Yes.
Right? So they're pretty equitably distributed as it is already, right?
Well, they are appointed by council members directly.
Okay.
Or nominated by you directly. So council, if we had a council district 13, that council district 13 council member could pick somebody from their district or from another district. They're not obligated to pick from their district, but they have that opportunity.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Reyes?
I'm actually glad that Councilmember Davis, you brought up those issues. I know that we rely heavily on our community to give us their feedback into what is their priorities, and I think our commissions are part of that community. And so they've been really absent in this process, and I'm eager to get them back on board. So I agree that if there's some issues, like I hear what the speakers are saying, that I think there's a level of fairness that they're concerned with. But I think this only applies to a number of commissions. It's not all of our commissions that are being impacted. And so I'm going to support the motion so that we can take this to the council and have this discussion. I think there's been a couple of concerns that we've heard here at Rules. Martha O'Connell has called in and shared about her concerns. I can't remember some of the other folks who've called in, but I think this is an area that that we rely on heavily for community input. And like I said, it's absent right now. And although we are seeing an increase in community engagement through our council meetings, it's not necessarily the same as having a commissioner who's assigned to a specific area and is committed through meetings and such. And so I think we have to honor that commitment and support them. And so I'll support this memo to move forward to the council so we can have this discussion.
Okay. All right, let's vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. And then finally, item 7 is a ban on the use of rubber bullets for crowd control that several of us have signed. And of course, we had a hearing and wanted to hear from our community as well as to hear from the police department about the use of rubber bullets. And this memo, I think, reflects our conclusion based on what we've heard. And I would just ask that move forward at whatever the convenient date is. Dave, is that the 30th?
Yeah, I think, I'm just remembering this item. I know Tony's on the call. I think with some of the work in item one, I don't think it technically needs to go to council. I think we've already done that work in the duty manual. I
Okay.
think Rick can weigh in. I think we determined that there really is no required muni code change. I'll let Rick state that.
Can I
As I
just
said,
jump in there though, before Rick does? I looked carefully, at least at the statements that I saw that were put out by the chief, and there's some variance, obviously, with what we're proposing.
So
And
I think what we could do then, when we bring this forward, we can identify what we've done and see if there's any gaps or it hits the target or not.
yeah, I mean, if you guys need some time for that, we can come back in August if you feel
Okay,
we got it covered in the duty manual for now. And then we can parse the language more specifically later.
let's do that then, because I think on item two, and I think Siobhan's on the call too, but we spoke this morning. I think here you're asking that she return to council in August.
Yeah.
With at least a summary of the complaints and so forth. So I think we can package this up for an August return to council.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's phrased in the alternative, Mayor, as you know. So it's either the duty manual gets amended or for us to come back with an ordinance. So hopefully it's handled in the duty manual, that's administrative, and that's what the city manager will address.
Okay, so you'd be bringing the language of the duty manual back to us, is that right, Dave?
Yeah, we can confirm that it complies with the direction. And then Siobhan, you want to kind of weigh in on your piece here?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take the second part first, which talks about providing a report on complaints we've received about the social unrest and the police response to the demonstrators. We can certainly do that. As you know, some complaints come to my office and a whole bunch of complaints also go to IA. So I've reached out to the chief and we'll combine the two together so you get the full picture of what's been filed. And it'll be at a high level. It'll be basically the number of incidents we're looking at, what type of allegations and that.
Okay, thank you, it's helpful.
And then regarding the second part about persons being able to file not a complaint with us, but merely documenting their injuries.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at that. We don't know how many people are seeking this avenue. We've not had any come to us. It'd be nice if we could know approximate number of persons, because if it's a smaller number, it's an easier solution.
Yeah, and I think there is funding that was approved in the budget yesterday to enable you to take in video and photos, right? More easily on their website.
Right. So we've had a big issue with being able to have people send us videos to support their complaints.
Right.
And so we've been working with IT and the city manager's office, and that's moving very quickly. It's been very nice. The team's been so supportive. But this is a different nuance. This is a request to have people who merely want to document injuries, but not file complaints.
Right. Okay.
So we're going to be reaching out probably to each of your offices to get a feel about how many people there are so we can craft the response to the number of people.
Okay. And for the purposes of our communication with the public, when is it realistic for us to be able to say, you can take video online, for example?
I'm sorry?
When is it realistic for us to be able to communicate to the public that you're able to take video online, for example, video that's submitted to you?
I would estimate in about a week and a half.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilor Arenas?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually really grateful that this is moving forward. This morning I read, I think it was in San Jose Insight, about a story of a woman who got hurt and her family got hurt as rubber bullets were aimed, or allegedly aimed at her window. And so I'm glad to see this move forward. I think that this is also part of having this conversation and having a stance on this as part of the healing process with our folks who are protesters, especially those who were doing this in a very peaceful manner. And so I'm really happy that this is moving forward. In the meantime, I'm not sure what the policy is. I know that we continue to see more protests scheduled for some time. What is the policy at this point while we wait to hear this back at council?
I'll ask Tony to jump in, but if the duty manual's already been revised, then that's been put into place for further action. So Tony, you want to kind of share more about that?
Sure. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Manager, and council members. Yes, as City Manager Sykes mentioned, our duty manual has been changed to prohibit the use of projectile impact weapons for crowd control. They are still authorized to be used against a person in crowd control situations who are actively attacking an officer or other people when they're armed or pose a threat to officers or other persons. So yes, the duty manual was changed. This change was took effect yesterday. This is just one of the many policies we've been working on recently in light of what had happened.
So I think there's like a very nuanced difference that from what I heard, I think our chief and maybe previous speakers from the police department say that they were using projectiles in order not to use batons because that created more distance between the protesters and themselves. So now what I think our police officers are being directed is that they should only use those projectiles if they are personally being attacked, or so somebody's running to them and not away from them, correct?
Yes, they'll be used in situations where subjects are actively attacking an officer or another person, or when an armed person threatens an officer or other people. And this is in line with our current use of force policy.
Got it. Okay, I want to make sure that that is not part of what we continue to do. I know that I've seen a huge shift in terms of our protests and the peaceful environment that lately we've enjoyed. But I want us to continue to keep this in mind as we move forward in our process, that our practices are actually starting to shift, that we're not waiting until the council has these discussions, but we're making some real time changes. So I appreciate that.
Okay. Let's go to the public. We have Blair, welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
That was a very sober subject. Thank you. In respecting an understandable initial fear of violence and of the unknown, Friday, May 28th, San Jose, police responses to protests and how the police perceive the level of violence and protest will have to be reviewed. This can be considered one of a few categories in how to view changes with the police at this time. Other categories to talk about can include better day-to-day police practices, a long climb for San Jose to begin to introduce more continual community police efforts, and how to develop ideas of equity as a whole community process we can all be a part of. I hope we can all agree at some level the words of defund and demilitarize the police can also mean reform and reallocate. And how can we meet halfway on this terminology? And to please consider the ideas of love and of the local democratic process itself and how we can talk to each other at this time. Everyday people, I hope, can please get more involved with the city government and actually have conversations with your city government. And I hope city government can please be involved and listen to and trust the everyday people of your community more. It is along these lines I'm asking on my own ideas of what can be more peaceful, minimal use practices to define technology needs for a city. Good civil rights and civil protections, open communication, and the community meeting process. These are the important ideas of peace, good reasoning, good democratic practices, and positive long-term community sustainability for everyone. And where technology itself often gets its inspiration and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back to council. I guess, Tony, if you're still there, did we lose him? Chief Mata?
It looks like we did.
Yeah, I'll just describe what my concern is. I was hoping to have the sort of the conversation here, but my concern is that what the duty manual prohibits is the use of the rubber bullets for quote unquote crowd control, but still allows them to be used in a crowd to address someone who may be an assailant. And my concern is that I think as we now know pretty well, it's awfully difficult to control where these bullets go. They bounce, they ricochet, and they're not nearly as precise, obviously, as a typical bullet, particularly if they're shot at a distance. And so, you know, what we're proposing is use the rubber bullets for crowd control in the title, but my intention was to ban them all together for use when you've got people crowded together, simply because we're not very good at determining, I don't think anyone's very good at being able to aim these things well enough to actually hit an assailant as opposed to hitting innocent people. And so that's the conversation I think it's relevant for us to kind of get through to understand, does this really meet what we want or not, what's in the duty manual? And Dave, if you want to jump in, feel free.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, I guess I had a little bit of different impression of, you know, the accuracy, and certainly as they were in use and ricocheting them off the ground, yeah, they lose almost complete control. However, if they do, are you going to use them in the manner being described by Tony earlier, that they did have control over the some level of accuracy, a pretty high level, I got the impression, because it's really about the approach that they're using them. So I can look back, and because I want them to have the opportunity to kind of make sure that the right people are describing to you all the tactics, you know.
I appreciate that you're not the expert, or I'm not.
Yeah.
Certainly. You know, my basic concern is that they're trained to shoot these into the ground because they don't want to hit people in the head. And that means automatically you've got a real loss in accuracy.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I had, like I said, the impression that there was really two approaches to using these, and they've totally removed the one approach, which is this kind of general crowd control measure, and they've left in place this other approach that they've had for a long time. And I guess I believe didn't think that was the issue. It was this general crowd control approach that really was the issue. But so I'll loop back.
Okay, thank you. All right, then there, I'm trying to remember, there is a motion, right?
Motion to approve.
Go ahead. Second.
Sorry.
Okay, so Councilmember Arenas, that is basically to come back in August, is that right?
That I believe that's what Dave has requested, and if you're all in agreement, then, and if it's appropriate, yes.
Okay, great. Just want to clarify. All right, any questions on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Then we're on to open forum. From the public, Blair?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for your patience with my work today, just being a part of the process. Thank you. I wanted to quickly say, please do not go full ahead with the plans to bulldoze an entire city block in downtown San Jose. It is an incredibly dull, unimaginative way to work. Is there still time to consider build a smaller building to work with, and that can work with the existing buildings of the northwest block of San Fernando Market and Almaden, as these are established business centers with interesting plazas, spaces to walk, think, and meditate. Learn how a new, smaller building can build pathways, interconnectedness, and work with the already existing buildings. It would more respect how people can walk from place to place, and with more choices to see, feel, and experience. It would invite better inventiveness, which the Tech Museum and the Cesar Chavez Park as a focus to the area. I gave you my list of things to work on yesterday about height limits and that the park can be accessible. To conclude, in this difficult time, we all want to stability. I hope you can take your time with city government projects, and that projects do not have to simply be rushed, simply to say city government is being structured and dependable. I hope we can all learn at this time the gentle practice to describe that projects may need to be put off for another day for more study. Thank you for your work and efforts today, and I hope that we're working to connect ourselves and just have really good open communication, and that ideas can be open at this time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Beekman. With that, the meeting is adjourned.